كل هذه الأرض ما تكفي مساحة لو نعيش بلا سماحة، وانت عايزنا بحب لو تضيق الأرض نسكن كالجل. كل هذه الأرض ما تكفي مساحة لو نعيش بلا سماحة، وانت عايزنا بحب لو تضيق الأرض نسكن كالغل. التحية والسلام أنشروا أحلى الكلام زي نود احترام، أب محبة وابتسام أنشروا بين الأنام، هذا هو دين السلام. كل هذه الأرض ما تكفي مساحة لو نعيش بلا سماحة، وانت عايزنا بحب لو تضيق الأرض نسكن كالغل. التحية والسلام أنشروا أحلى الكلام زي نود احترام، أب محبة وابتسام أنشروا بين الأنام، هذا هو دين السلام. دين السلام. التحية والسلام أنشروا أحلى الكلام زي نود احترام، أب محبة وابتسام أنشروا بين الأنام.
ما شاء الله، How beautiful are these butterflies, graceful, confident, inspiring, resilient, and much more. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. The butterfly symbolizes femininity for a number of reasons. They share the quality of beauty, grace, and elegance. The butterfly goes through transformation with confidence, and we are delighted to see the changes. In the same way, the gracious woman goes through a lot of changes in her life. She becomes a woman of excellence filled with wisdom, a woman of integrity, and a woman of compassion. A woman not only overcomes all the changes in her life, but also plays many roles in our society. From being a loving daughter, sister, wife, and the most caring mother is the greatest gift from Allah. Women have established themselves socially, politically, and economically in almost every field. But there are challenges associated with these roles, which we are not aware of. So like the butterflies, let us flap our wings together to raise these issues and challenges women face in our society to create a greater and bigger effect on them. I entrust you will find our next segment very absorbing and inspiring. Going forward, we want it to be an interactive session. So we would encourage you to come forward and ask questions on our WhatsApp number 0672794387, and our guest will be glad to address them. So now I hand over to our anchor of the Ladies' Terrace, Shahana Mia.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Ladies' Terrace program. We are coming to you live on our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and also for those watching us live on Hilal TV, welcome. I'm very excited today because we have two very vibrant women in studio with us. We have Lisa Blumacher and Widad Imran, and they are very stalwart ladies in the community, developing platforms that enable women to be able to rise above their situation. So our topic is raising women. And to address that, I just want to bring in a little bit for you. Women are the very essence and the core of our society. They bring in a lot of development and growth through that process. And as you will hear from our speakers today, that life sometimes is crazy and it's uncertain. You know, we talk about topics like busyness. We talk about topics of being hectic. We talk about being imbalanced. And we'll hear from these ladies this evening as we interact with them to be able to guide us through that process. Many of us find it challenging to be able to just look at train our minds, to be able to give us a sense of well-being and to find balance in that. And what we want to do is we want to encourage you to interact with us. Like Hina said, send your questions through either to one or both of the guests, and hopefully we'll try and filter as many questions as we can through the hour that we have with you. And just for you to remember that we're talking about chaos that enters our lives in various forms. But also what we want to try and do is encourage and leave with you some pearls of wisdom in terms of how to find balance in that chaos, how to be able to bring calmness to yourself, how to be able to understand that in that chaos there's a time for you to reboot, to be able to find serenity and tranquility with that. So I just want to welcome our ladies and introduce you to them. We have Widad Salam Emran, and Widad's a proud mother of 4 children. She's a spirited wife, and she says she's an entrepreneur as well. Widad's a qualified personal life coach and an NLP practitioner with 18 years of work experience. She's worked in the field of Ihata's Women's Shelter, Cancer Patient Care, Sarki Bartman Women's Shelter, Paulsmoor Female Prison, and also has her own private counseling practice. She's the founder of a Facebook platform page called Rising Muslim Women's Circle. And together with her qualifications and layers of knowledge and experience, she assists her clients on self-awareness, self-empowerment, and self-nurturing, which she says helps them improve coping skills with the inevitable difficulties that life may bring them. So Widad, welcome this evening. Thank you for joining us.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukran. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here.
Lovely to have you. And then we have Lisa Blumacher. Lisa is the owner of Raising Mums, an all-women boot camp. She's a wellness coach, a wife, and mum of 4 teenagers. With a background in politics and media and a BSc in politics and history, Lisa worked in the hallowed halls of the South African Parliament when Madiba was still president, and she worked as a media liaison. After a good 8 years as a stay-at-home mum, Lisa went back to work in CSI arena. It was during these 5 years in that Lisa studied nutrition and the science of weight loss. So today, as a health coach and a business owner, Lisa has helped well over 500 women get fit and lose weight. And she says, like a caterpillar, they emerge to a true new version of themselves. Lisa, lovely to have you with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Shahana. I'm so grateful. Good evening to all our viewers, and I'm just excited about being here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. So these ladies have established a platform in their space, and what they're doing is they're serving women. They are assisting women in empowering themselves. They're looking at co-regulation of women, and in so doing, they're elevating the status of the woman. Yes. But I do know also you having a ripple effect in terms of the other individuals that the woman interacts with, namely the men, the children, and other women in society. So let us get started and get to know a little bit more about each one of you. So whoever wants to start, please just share some things about yourself and maybe why you've chosen the focus of area that you are in right now.
You go first.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, I decided to be part of this because I wanted to raise women's awareness of the power that they have within themselves. And unfortunately, in our society and our culture, it is not very female empowering. And through my work in Ihata and Sarki Bartman and even the Paulsmoor, you can see that how the women have allowed themselves to be disempowered. They're doing things or what they do, their behavior, it's all for validation from other people. And in that, they end up hurting themselves.
Sure.
And the sadness of it is that they don't even mind hurting themselves. Sure. They are even unaware, all for the need or for the sake of validation and looking for love. To fill, they're wanting other people to fill their cup. And we need to realize, and this is not just for women, but for men too. We fill our own cups. We empower ourselves.
Sure.
The other people's attention and love, that's added bonus.
Yeah.
But we create our happiness.
Beautiful.
And I wanted to share that.
Thank you. Sure. Lovely. Thank you. What a lovely introduction. Thank you.
Sure.
Lisa.
Sure, I'm excited because there's so much synergy. In many respects, that's exactly what I do on a daily basis. But how I got there was finding myself at rock bottom and having to grab hold of myself almost by my own bootstraps, because as much as we love and have people in our lives who love us and care for us, ultimately the responsibility to fill our own cups comes from ourselves.
Definitely.
It's not our partner's responsibility, it's not our children's responsibility to make us happy. It's our responsibility to take care of ourselves. So obviously, as a young mom, I was on autopilot for a very long time. I had 4 kids, 4 years and under, very, very quickly. People think, what are you crazy? Yes. I didn't plan it, but would I change it now? Not for anything in the world.
Yeah.
And that's really where my story started. Was it started before that, but I think the realization that I couldn't remain on autopilot because I have 4 eternal beings that I need to care for and raise. And I'm not raising children, I'm raising human beings,
Beautiful.
adults who need to go into the world and take up their space.
Yes.
So the responsibility inevitably falls on me, and no matter what I'm going through on a day-to-day basis, I need to realize that there is that responsibility and I need to change. And that's the word, I think, that puts fear in most women.
Yes.
Because change is not an easy thing for anybody, whether you're male or female.
Yeah.
And I encounter that every day with new clients because we change their diet, we change a whole bunch of things. But ultimately, getting out of that comfort zone and making the change and realizing the responsibility to face yourself and your weaknesses remains on you, and you need to change and go forward from there. And that's where I found myself many years ago, and I was about 30 kilos heavier than I am now, and desperately depressed. I had, as I said, 4 kids, 4 years and under at that stage, but I'd had 2 miscarriages in the middle of it. And I did want to mention that because I think that's something that as women we don't feel we have permission to speak about. It's almost as though we put that under the carpet.
Right.
And but I think there's a time and a space for us to be able to say, you know, this happens and it happens to so many more.
Yes.
And especially if you're a mom, you understand what it's like to birth a baby, what it's like to give life to a child. And when you lose that child before they're even born, you still have permission to grieve.
Absolutely.
And that's where I
Absolutely.
found myself getting deeper and deeper and slumper down into a depression because I wasn't dealing with a whole bunch of mucky things.
Yeah.
But I needed to get out of that. And so change, and I know we'll talk about that a lot more today, but that's where I had to face myself and move forward from. So I'm excited about
Sure.
our chat.
Thank you. Wow, wow. We're in for a treat. I think the thing that stands out for me is both of you are serving women in your areas, but you personalized it and you're paying it forward.
Definitely.
Because you know that's something that you want to do and share.
Yes.
You know. So Lisa spoke about change as a fear. Vidad, any fears for you that come up?
Oh, yes. You know, the fears is you don't, as Lisa was saying about where her realization, my realization was where you realize you actually wear so many masks.
Yeah.
Sure.
Everything. And yes, I understand that the mask, when you do or when you did, when you started wearing them, it was a means of protection or something. But now you end up wearing so many masks that you lose yourself. You don't know who you are anymore. And then, I don't know if you recall, you know, there's the song, there's the song, Indiri, I think sings it. You are not my hair, I am not my hair, I am not my clothes, I am not your expectations.
Okay, yes,
I
yes,
am
yes,
the soul
yeah.
that lives within.
Wow.
And that resonated.
Sure.
And that still definitely resonates. Because who are we? Who are we really? You know, okay, your mother, your wife, your sister, your auntie, your friend. But who are you truly? We know how to be, oh, you know, this one, this is what you do. This is, but who are you truly? And so my fear is that losing that. I don't want to lose that.
Okay.
I want to be able to, and I want the women to also, to be able to enhance. The more you find out who you really are, the more you empower yourself.
Okay. Okay.
You actually really bloom and you blossom. That
Now,
is what
Lisa,
happens.
Lisa, would you find that those fears are universal? Because you're working with women that come in with the aim of losing weight, primarily. But I'm sure there's a lot more to unpack when you deal with them.
For sure. And those fears are definitely universal. I think we firstly don't feel like we have the permission to take care of ourselves. Because the minute you become, it's not even becoming a mom. I think as females, as women, we are hardwired to nurture.
Yes.
And,
Truly, so true.
And so that nurturing gift, which is a gift to the world, oftentimes can also be a weakness in us. Because then we forget that we should actually take care of us too. Because we nurture everybody else in our world.
Absolutely.
We forget about ourselves. We forget that we need to take care of ourselves. And I think that is definitely, for me, when you're coming back to that universal fear and that universal challenges that women encounter, nurturing is, we're hardwired to do it, but do we feel that we're allowed to say, put up our hands and say, but I also need to be cared for. I also need nurturing. I also need a connection, a safe place. And that in what I do on a daily basis, and that's my motivation behind creating Raising Moms, was because of the pain that I had come out of. I felt that I needed and realized I wasn't the only one. That every woman goes through it at some point in time, and that it's okay to go through that, but we need a safe place where we can come. We don't have to be best mates, we don't have to be best friends, but to know that there are other women going through the same thing, and we can just be in that space and say, you know what, today I'm not having a great day.
Absolutely.
And being authentic and true to yourself.
Very.
That's what it's about.
Very much. That's also where the mask comes. And it's just allowing yourself to be. We don't allow ourselves to be.
The word is allow.
Yes, it's
it's
allow.
a big word,
We actually think that because that is actually part of the self-care. We are hardwired to look after everyone else. But we don't give that. We actually think it's self-indulgent. I'll just squeeze in here, squeeze in. Why must I squeeze myself in sometimes? What about me? Exactly. What about me?
But what does self-care mean? Because sometimes people think it's going for a massage and, doing all these fancy things. And that, I think, would be indulgence.
You
so
see,
what about care?
there's a different. Self-care is different for everyone, but there are different attributes of self-care. The first one is your physical body. Look after your physical body. Give time. Your intellectual body, reading, doing a course, uplifting yourself intellectually. Your spiritual body, whatever religion, God, your connection with Him. And then it's your emotional body. Now, our emotional body. Emotional body is what we regard as the engine for those other bodies. If your emotional body is not in a good state, where we, in society and culture, if you're feeling any negative emotion or things, what do? We suppress. We keep ourselves busy. We do something else. It's deflection. So we don't have to deal with it because we don't have the coping mechanisms to deal. Or we do have the coping mechanisms, but not healthy coping mechanisms. So what we eat it away, or we run it away, we do something, we Netflix it away. That is what we do. But if you actually give yourself the time, whether it be 30 minutes in the morning, and just actually truly asking yourself, how are you feeling today? How are you really feeling? Not what you're supposed to. I'm supposed to be feeling happy. Why are you not happy? And then we still go and shame ourselves. If you're feeling, I'm feeling miserable today.
It's okay.
It's fine. It's fine, my dear.
Acknowledge that.
Acknowledge that. We have to be our own best friends. We have to. If we don't, people will only treat us the way we treat ourselves.
Sure.
So if you treat yourself lovingly, if you become your own best friend, and you tell yourself, actually, Lisa, I don't have time for you today, but I am available tomorrow. Then I have time. I've created a
not?
boundary.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for that.
Wow.
I didn't go and people pleasing. Oh, you
People are
know.
afraid to create boundaries, you know,
Mhm.
absolutely. I just want to just remind our viewers, please interact with us and engage with us. So send us a question or two on the WhatsApp line, and we'll hopefully just be able to get that, because I think you can agree with me that the topic is hot. There's a lot happening here. The studio is very warm. But I think it's very, very relevant topics that we're dealing with. Yes. And I want to touch on two things. You've been working with people in the shelters and prisons. Is self-care the same? Because is the priority not protection, safety, or does will that be regarded as self-care or not? And then maybe, Lisa, you can touch on self-sabotage for us, because that is also something that brings in terms of alignment of self-care as well.
Do you know, you'll be amazed as to how many people are not aware of self-care. They put one foot in front of the other. They because they feel self-care is a luxury and they haven't been taught to self-care, they are unaware. So even when you make them aware of it, it's difficult. And you know, when you're teaching someone something new eating plans, eating habits, that transition period, people expect that transition period to be, okay, you told me, so I'm going to do. It takes a long time. And because they don't see improvements or the improvements that they
Expectation.
then they just, no, I won't do it.
Yeah.
So whether you have a self-care, whether you're making them aware, it all depends upon that person, whether you want to.
Okay.
Whether you want to. What's that saying? You can take a horse to the water, but you can't force it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing like that. You must want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, that's very powerful. I think you must want to, but you must also love yourself enough
Oh, yes.
to think that you're worthy of it.
So
Very
self-love equals
Oh,
self-care.
yes.
Self-care equals self-love.
Yes.
You know.
They're
Yes.
so closely linked, because if I talk about self-sabotage, I find that we self-sabotage because we don't feel we're worthy enough.
Are you getting?
So if I have a lady coming to me, and I know some of my clients are watching me this evening, but they come and they want to create a change. They want to lose weight, most of them.
Yeah.
But what happens along the journey is that it's a journey of self-discovery. It's a journey of starting to realize I'm worthy of this.
Yes.
And many of them, and one of my clients said this to me the other day. Kim, you said this to me. She said, there's always an excuse. And most times, they're good excuses. So we say, we can't make time for ourselves because we have 4 children at home.
Oh, yes.
Who need to be driven around the world and fed. And a husband who needs X, Y, and Z. And family members, parents who need to be taken care of. So we get automatically put in last on the list. So who's putting that list together?
Exactly. Exactly.
We put the list to us constantly.
Yes, exactly.
Right? So why not put you a little higher on the list?
Yes.
And I think what is surprising, because I work with women in this area, they start to realize that, you know what, my family don't kick up a fuss if I put myself higher on the list. They actually like it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They actually start to realize my husband actually
Yeah.
loves it. I have clients who said to me, when I get ratty and I haven't been to boot camp for a while, my husband will say, I think you actually need to go. Because he
You've
realized,
showed value to yourself,
Yes.
and in turn you've taught them to value you as well.
Definitely.
You know?
and you come back a happier version of yourself.
Yes, yes.
You come back balanced.
Yeah.
Because all those crazy hormones have maybe
Oh, God, yes.
taken the back seat, and you just feel you feel better. The
Yeah.
endorphins and the dopamine kicks in, and
Yes.
you have the natural high, which makes you calmer and it regulates everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely. You were talking about self-worth. A lot of the females feel they need to do something
To feel worthy.
to be worthy. They actually feel, if I make the food that they want, if I do this, do that, it's going to make me worthy. But it's not. You're worthy, just being
you.
just being you. Really. And if someone else tells you, no, but you're not that,
Yeah.
that's just indicative of their low self-esteem,
Yeah.
not yours. But, unfortunately, people go around and they're like sponges. They're
Yeah.
waiting, they're looking and eagerly waiting for other people to fill their cups.
Absolutely.
And when that person is not filling their cup, they feel
Then we feel unworthy.
totally
and- yeah.
unworthy.
So
I'm
it
not
reminds
good
me of
enough.
what Stephen Covey says. He says to live, to love, to learn, and to leave a legacy.
Absolutely.
And why not encompass those dimensions that you mentioned
Yes.
earlier? Because it's about your spiritual well-being,
Yes.
your emotional well-being, your mental well-being, and your intellectual well-being,
Yes.
And then bringing into that, what we're talking about now, is the concept of weight loss or weight gain. How does that manifest in the body when we're talking about worthiness?
Yes.
That is massive, right there. And I think,
The body's like a map. It will tell you exactly what's happening.
and I love my dear friend Johanna because she always reminds me of it. Because I have back pain. It's like, what are you
Oh,
carrying?
yes.
Your ears hurting. What are you
Oh,
doing? Your mouth, what
yes.
are you not saying? So, and that is, your body is a map. You're right. And the whole idea of binge eating,
Yes.
of comfort eating, because or not eating.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Punishing yourself,
Punishing
shaming
Holding back.
yourself.
Shaming yourself. It's all encompassing in terms of yourself. Because we don't feel worthy again.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't feel like we're worthy, and we have a bad day. We make
Yeah.
our way home after work. What's the easiest way to get over those feelings? Instead of acknowledging what triggered you during the day, what's happening, we go past McDonald's and pick up
Yeah.
something on the way home,
Yeah.
and then we still go home and make dinner. And then you just feel like, oh, am I really, really worth anything? Because look what I did. Look what I
And
did.
we transfer that attitude from ourselves to other people as well,
Oh, yes.
which is mainly our family.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. So those are tricky things. But I wanted to touch on the autopilot.
Yeah.
I feel like we're on autopilot so many times in our life, at different phases in our life. And Dad and I were talking earlier on, we are cyclical. We have a cycle, we have
Yes.
a menstrual cycle. And just like the moon phases, we have our own phases. And sometimes our husbands or the other people in our life think, what's going on with this woman? But it's to acknowledge that and to say, today I might need to have a little chocolate. And that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
Does that mean that I have stuffed up my eating plan because I went on a 6-week challenge? No. We just press reset and we go again, because
absolutely.
I acknowledge that this is what my body's telling me. So it's about listening to your body, not
Absolutely.
just being on
Yeah.
autopilot.
Definitely.
And waking up every morning with the attitude is, I'm going to be kind to myself.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to teach
Yes.
the people that come into my life, whether they're male or female. Be kind to
Yeah.
you,
Yes.
because you're worthy, and you're worthy just because you're you, not because you're.
And self-kindness is very much a serving attitude again. We think
Yes.
when we talk about serving, we think of me doing for someone else. But how about serving myself?
Precisely. And
know?
who knows you better than yourself?
Absolutely. And also to remind yourself, I like what you said, listen and give yourself permission to hear what you're saying.
Yes.
Because we hear other people constantly, but we don't give ourselves permission to listen to ourselves and then act on it that way in terms of what is good for us and beneficial for us.
Definitely.
I think in terms of coming back to self-care, it can be just taking out a half an hour in your day just to be quiet.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is self-care. And maybe journaling or writing down a few thoughts.
Yes.
Really getting in touch with what you're what your body's saying, what your mind is saying, what's happening in your subconscious, because we are so busy and we don't give ourselves time to sort of center.
Yeah. So, Widad, I want to touch on the importance of how we leave the legacy.
Yeah.
You've got a daughter that's married, but you both have teenage children and above that. How do we leave legacies behind for the people in our lives when we're looking internally and trying to raise our own or elevate our own status within?
Do you know, in our religion, we are always in 3 states. It's either astaghfirullah, that is I'm seeking forgiveness, or alhamdulillah, which is I praise God, or subhanallah, I don't know what's going to happen, but God is glorious, so whatever will be, will be. So in those states, as the children go through the different phases of their lives, as they grow up, they will trigger certain things in you. They will trigger things, their behavior, their mannerisms, or how they are, what they're doing. It can either negatively or positively trigger you. And now, obviously, negatively when I'm speaking about this. Then it's actually, you will hear that little voice in your head. You will sometimes say exactly what your parents said, and they're like, you know, and then that pause button, you actually have to pause and you say, hold on. What am I actually saying here? Do I want to say this? I know what that person, what that child is going to be feeling now. So it's a way of readdressing your pains or whatever things are coming up. And if that child's behavior is negative, where did that child get that behavior?
Yeah.
It's going to be one of you too. Sure. So are you addressing it, or are you going to be scolding the child or shaming the child? What are you going to do? If you are going to be addressing it and you saying, like, you know, just the other day, I realized that the transition when I had my third son, when I had my third child, I had actually, my baby was born, but I had not completely forgotten about my middle child. I was so busy focusing on my youngest one that I had inadvertently forgotten to give as much attention or more attention to my middle one. And then I actually, when I realized that, we were by the supper table, and I said, you know, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And do you know that in itself, the way you are when you realize your mistakes, the things that you've done inadvertently, and you're showing your children what you're doing. If you are apologizing, you own yourself. Yeah. You take responsibility. Yeah. You have to acknowledge. You cannot change something that you do not acknowledge. So acknowledge. If you at fault, say sorry. Yeah. Allah Ta'ala doesn't tell you, oh no, you can only say sorry when you're a small child. He doesn't say that. He tells you, he makes us aware, whoever you have hurt, you apologize, you ask, you seek forgiveness from them.
It reminds me of the Ho'oponopono.
Oh, yes.
I didn't even know about that, Lisa. It's a Hawaiian reconciliation concept. And there's 4 statements to that, you know, and it says, please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. And I'm sorry.
Okay.
And I may have got the order
wrong. I think so.
but those are the concepts to use. And I love the fact that we need to give ourselves permission as adults, as parents, to ask forgiveness, because we think sometimes the child, the younger one, the subordinate in my work environment.
Absolutely.
But me as an individual needs to take that responsibility.
Totally.
The ability to respond to a wrongdoing, maybe a unconscious decision or message that I passed on to somebody else, realize it, acknowledge it, and then say, I'm sorry, will you forgive me? Thank you, I love you.
And that's part of the legacy, the legacy of humility and vulnerability. A lot of people think being vulnerable is, you know, such weakness. But there is absolute strength in that, which is one of the reasons for the group that I made, is to share, to make them people, women out there realize, you're not alone. Yeah. You are not alone. No. And just come, reach out. That's all.
So have people reached out?
Yes, they have. Yeah? They definitely have.
Okay.
And in our society, though, especially in our society, they use the shield of, you know, what's I'd rather not suffer in silence. That is their thing. And they will come to you. You were talking about pain. Pain is the mover.
Sure, yes.
pain. If there's no pain, they will sit with that discomfort no matter what.
Sure.
But it is the pain that will make you decide. And then it's the level of pain too, because some people's pain thresholds are very high.
Sure. Wow.
my goodness.
Okay.
Yes.
Talking about pain, do you want to share with us?
I suddenly had this moment. So can I share a bit my story?
Okay, please do.
Which got me to where I am now, and it started with the pain. So as I said, I had 4 kids, 4 years and under. By the time my youngest was born, my oldest was just turning, she was 3 turning 4.
Okay.
Then I had a set of, I have a set of twins, Michael and Daniel. Jessica's my oldest, and Michael and Daniel in the middle. And then Luke was born 13 months, 14 months after the twins.
Ooh.
So Jessica was 3. I had just 1-year-old boys.
Very
boys.
brave.
Water, hey?
What the heck? But so I was on autopilot for those years. But your kids trigger things, and that stage in my life triggered things that I never even realized I needed to deal with. And it was in that stage of being on autopilot, but being triggered, but not realizing.
Yes.
And acting out.
And
And
you're so dissociated from it completely, and you're numb.
You're
to it
numb.
all.
That's exactly. I was
Yes.
numb. So I was eating or not eating. I was binge watching series and being sleep deprived because you got 4 small children who need you. But then instead of going to bed, you watch series. You reward yourself. I talk to my clients after this. When the kids go to bed, you reward yourself with a packet of biscuits. We'll do it. But the pain that all of that created. So here I was gaining weight. I was unhappy. I love clothing. I love fashion. I hated the fact that I couldn't go into the store and just pick something up because I was suddenly bigger.
Okay.
I found myself desperately depressed and realized I needed to change. But it wasn't until I was so depressed, had all 4 kids in the car, and was suicidal. And I realized I felt like I would never be enough for them. And there was a tree in front of us. I had them all in their car seats. And I said, well, here's an opportunity. Let's just take us all out because I'm not enough. I'm not enough.
Sure.
But the pain of that realization that, am I going to really take them all out and leave an absolute mess in the back when we're gone? Was that fair? No. But I just didn't know how to get out of there. But that was one of the things that woke me up. The pain of realizing you've hit rock bottom, girl. You need to do something about it. And no matter how much my husband loves and loved me through that, he could not fix it. He could not make me happy.
Yeah.
He could not take me to a place where I was able to have the courage to make the changes. I needed to find that strength inside of me. And it started with exercise, but it was the exercise that I started to realize it was part of taking a little bit of control.
I was going to say.
I can walk between one lamppost and the next, and then I can run from that lamppost to the next. And I used to do it in my husband's extra large tracksuit pants. Nobody saw me because I'm just going to do this. But it was during that time that I started to take control and filter through the pain and start realizing what was being triggered actually had nothing to do with my children, but it had to do with my childhood stuff. And I needed to deal with my own childhood stuff in order to be the mom and the wife and the employee and eventually the business owner I needed to be. But I needed to fix those things and have the courage to face myself to be able to go back and say, okay, we need to deal with this so that you don't leave the legacy. Because I'm going to tell the same thing to my kids. They can, even if I don't tell them, they're still going to learn it because they learn by what we do, not what we say.
Definitely.
It's almost through osmosis.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Lisa, for sharing that. Thank you for the courage to be able to mention it, name it, and allow us and this platform to witness you sharing that as well. Appreciate it. I know that it's been a doorway for you into a much more beautiful arena. And you know, it reminds me of a saying that goes, when everything's going wrong, it's actually because it's going right.
Yes.
You know, and that's God's divine
It
plan.
is. It is.
You know,
It is.
our plans are just very, very loose.
Yeah.
And we need to trust and we need to be able to work through that process. Because it's the tawakkul, we talk about tawakkul,
Yes.
which is that, the trust in, you know, the Almighty, knowing better.
That's right.
Yes.
So you've been placed and you've been blessed with 4 children under the age of 4 at one stage. But there was, and 15, 16 years later, there you are, a business owner and being able to share. And I think also allow other women to see the truth and to then stand up and say, me as well,
Yeah.
help.
Help. I need help.
You know, I was closed. I, was self-sabotaging. I was not kind to myself. Yes, don't think I'm really worthy of myself, but if you can do it, please help.
Yeah.
And that's the
Definitely.
beauty of that. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is really, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Well done, you. Wow.
But I think that's the thing, is that we should be proud of ourselves.
Definitely.
And just, what you were saying, that we all have worth and we all have value,
Yeah.
and it's not about what we do.
Mm.
We
Yes.
need to find the thing that makes us happy, that makes us come alive, and go do
Yeah.
it.
Definitely.
The world needs you to be
Yeah.
you, not a carbon
Yeah.
copy of somebody else.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And people find themselves in a rut because there's this trifecta of being powerless, being helpless,
Yes.
and being hopeless.
Sure.
And then it's like, okay, I'll tuck myself under the blankets and that's it. Nobody must see me because I don't want to share. It's a shaming feeling
Yes.
to be able to expose myself, that vulnerability we spoke about,
Yes.
And it takes a lot of courage and bravery, but it takes women as well to lift other women up. There's a web that we have.
Definitely.
And we celebrate our successes,
Yes.
but we're also there to be able to help each other when we're feeling weak and rise. The
Definitely.
rising tide.
Right.
You
Oh,
know?
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I love that.
Good, that's been great so far. I'm not sure if there are any questions that have come up on the screen. So I'll just remind you of that number, 067-279-4387. We've got, I think, about 10 minutes or so to, the time's going quick. Maybe a little bit longer. I'll check my watch now. But, it's been wonderful to be able to hear and be able to experience both of you in reality, knowing that you've come from something and you're on a journey.
Yes.
It's still part of your process because we're at the stage in our life where we are all moving from one decade to the next at
Oh,
some
yes.
point to the other,
Yes.
which then brings us into a different category of being
Definitely.
and understanding. And then we're bringing up, young adults and be able to help them go from there. So what I'd like to pick on now, or not really pick on, but actually just talk about, is the concept of the contract of life. What's our contract of life? And I think for me, one of the pointers in the contracts of life is the discomfort. We've spoken a bit about that, but maybe can we share more about the discomfort before we go into how we can just work with that and create different coping skills in that area. Widad, you look like you're thinking hard.
Yeah,
you may want to share
thinking
something.
there's like, I'm trying to sift through you. It reminds me of there's the ayah in the Quran where it says Allah Ta'ala is going to test you with the different things, your health, your wealth, your children and all of that. And so the discomfort. I think the discomfort comes also with your emotions. For me, emotions are messengers. We are taught that when the emotions, that's why you have to check in on yourself constantly. I mean, if you're having a business, you have a business plan, okay, this is what I need to do, this is what I have to do, and you check it all the time. It's the same thing with us. That's why the self-care is important. So when you're checking in with yourself and actually finding out, now, what am I? What is it? What am I really feeling? And what is it telling me? And then asking, if you don't know, actually, God, I really don't know why I'm feeling so angry. Just please help me. help me to deal with this anger, not shaming myself.
Yeah.
And learning to ride that emotion.
Yeah.
We don't know how to ride it.
Yeah.
And yes, it's going to feel at times like, God, this is like a tsunami. When is it going to stop? But hold on, the lifeline is Allah Ta'ala, is God.
Yeah.
Hold on to Him. The more you call out to Him, He will send people to you that will be able to help you. We cannot go through the discomfort, the inevitable discomfort that life will bring to you. Not as a punishment, it's actually a means of growth.
Absolutely.
Is
Yeah.
it?
I mean, you realize that, sure, I actually went through that, and this is what it taught me. I now have more strength of character, more strength of conviction and value than what I had before. But it took that discomfort to be able to.
Yeah.
I had to ride that tsunami. Then you think, ooh, tsunami number so-and-so, here it goes.
So, we talk about these intense emotions.
Yes.
Resentment,
Ooh.
anger.
Yes.
We spoke about shaming ourselves,
Yes.
blaming the guilt which we carry so well.
Oh, yes.
Do you think they are birthed from other emotions? And we need to actually work through the layers.
Yes.
Because emotions like hurt,
Yes.
like deep pain and disappointment, all coming because of love sometimes.
Yes. Do you know what I also find? I'm open to correction here. When we're on autopilot, we actually come from a space of fear. We don't come from a space of love.
Yeah.
We work from fear. Fear of losing, fear of not getting, fear of this, fear of everything. And it's actually addressing that fear. It's actually asking yourself, what are you really, truly fearing? When you look at, it's running away from the paper tigers. Is it the paper tigers?
I think so.
Where you think that these are tigers really coming after you, so you're running away. But when you actually stop, turn around and hold on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what we tend to do is keeping those negative emotions, suppressing them, making as if they are not there. It actually takes a hell of a lot of work.
It does. Yeah.
If you
High
just let it
maintenance.
go, ride your wave, man. Ride it.
Yeah.
And then you will see it. You will come. After you've ridden or driven the wave, it will come to a place of peace and calm and strength
Yeah.
until the next wave.
Yeah. Beautiful.
But that is the upward movement. And not being hard on yourself. We have to be our own best friends.
We
to
critique
love
ourselves a lot, but we
We
actually need to
do.
look differently.
We really, even if it's a simple motion of just putting your hand on your heart. Hey, we don't.
Connecting with that. Yeah.
You quiet, you know.
Actually really cool.
Really you awesome.
Lisa, do you have any comments on that?
Sure. I was just thinking in terms of those expectations. The expectations we have either placed on ourselves or that we feel society places on us as females, as women, as mums, that your house be spotless.
Oh God.
The biggest one, hide my
That your house be spotless at all times. At the kitchen, oh goodness, I don't know why. Does your husband get annoyed when your kitchen is not clean? Do your children get annoyed when your kitchen is not clean? No, we're the ones who get triggered by the fact that your kitchen is not clean. Because somebody could come around at any point in time and something, heaven forbid, would be out of place. And I guess what I wanted to talk about was where do these expectations come from? Are they from within us, or are they placed from that external sort of expectation? And is it a generational thing? I think a lot of the generation of I know particularly I talk from as a coloured woman, that sort of you Christmas time you have to have the curtains washed and everything.
Eat as
There are things we have to do
Yeah.
and lists that need to be ticked off. And yes, those things are important and they do create beautiful memories and traditions for our family. But at what expense to ourselves?
Definitely.
And I think that's something we need to acknowledge and say sometimes it's okay. It's okay that I don't have all of those things done because, again, bringing back the legacy. What am I leaving behind for my children?
If you work in IT, you need Terra, an all-in-one remote monitoring and management solution to run your...
Those things.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have grabbed
Hello.
all of
In
the
this
things that my
video, I'm
grandmother
going to show you
or
how to
grandmother
add
had
scrolling
and
text.
carried it along. Maybe I should change that and create
Definitely.
something new.
Just on that, when we lived in England, I remember one of my friends came to visit
To
me
OBS Studio,
early in the morning
or
after
if
she
you're
had
using
dropped her
Streamlabs OBS,
daughter at
you can
school.
also follow along
And I'm
because
still
the
apologizing. Oh, I'm
process
sorry, my house is
is
such a
very
mess."
similar.
Do you know what she
Let's get
told
into
me?
it.
She said, I came to visit
All right,
you,
so first things
not
first,
your
we
house.
want to make sure we have
That
the
was
text
absolutely
export standards.
profound. I
Yes.
thought, oh, you're the people
Yeah.
in Cape Town need to hear this.
That's true.
You know,
We
really.
base ourselves on that.
Our self-worth
external-
on what we
absolutely,
have and what,
yeah.
but it's not.
Yeah.
They just they temporary pleasures.
that you want your text
So we've
to scroll
spoken
in.
about the darkness,
So
we've
select your
spoken
scene,
about the
and then under
helplessness
sources,
and
right-click,
hopelessness. We've spoken
add.
about some of the internal struggles that we have. Now we're also looking at transformation. Any last comments on transformation, on coping skills, and maybe just taking us through that before we end off?
Be kind and merciful to yourself.
Kind and merciful.
Merciful. That is in when we start reciting the Quran, the surahs, apart from you saying, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, you say, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of God, the most merciful, the most compassionate. That is a reminder to
Yeah.
us. Be compassionate and
Alhamdulillah.
merciful to yourselves. Those are reminders there all the time.
Yeah.
Be easy on yourself. Things doesn't just happen in a flash.
Yeah.
Hold on to God and be patient and nurture yourself and be kind. If you're having a crap day, it's okay.
It's okay.
And we forget that emotions like the unwanted ones are part of our being. We were
Yes.
created to experience those emotions.
Yes.
And because we experience those emotions, that leads us to something else. But we
Yes.
often want to block it because I'm not supposed to.
Oh, yes, you
I'm
know.
not supposed to feel that way.
I have no
It's
right.
wrong.
I should be grateful.
Something-
I mustn't be. You know,
Yes.
really, I must be
Yes.
thankful. How could I
Yeah.
do this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just stop yourself.
Sure.
You stop yourself from feeling what you were supposed to be feeling, allowing yourself. I'm not saying that when you are angry, you can just go boss. That is not what I'm saying. All feelings are acceptable,
Yes.
but not all behaviors are
Absolutely,
acceptable.
yeah.
You
Absolutely,
have
yes.
control
Sure.
of, you have a choice
Yep.
over that,
Yeah.
and there's consequences to that. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying feel your feelings. You decide what behaviors you want,
Yes.
and then deal with it.
Beautiful.
But if you're going to stop yourself, it's like just stopping that flow there.
No.
And it's like you in that
There's no
stuck mode
validation.
every time, every
Yeah.
time. You're stuck there. It can only become unstuck once you address it
Yeah.
and give it the airtime it wants. It needs.
It needs to be. Yeah.
Thank
Otherwise
you.
it goes back down and it
Sure.
gets infected.
Absolutely.
Lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vidadi. Lisa, for you,
I
closing
think
comments?
Closing comments, I know we have touched on this, but the fact that we are body, we are mind, we are spirit.
Yes.
And those three elements are critical. We sometimes neglect one element, but then we don't live optimally.
Yes.
Which is why I do what I do. Our bodies are important. We take care of our bodies, and ultimately, your body feels better and is healthier. Your mind starts to
Yes.
operate better.
Yes.
You're able to take care of yourself. And so, how do we transform? Little steps,
Yeah.
baby steps.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. But the first one is taking that time out for yourself,
Sure.
journaling, writing some things down. I'm going to do this, this, and this, not for anybody else, but for
Yeah.
me today. And then deciding at some point in time, I'm going to exercise.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm a bit of crazy nut about exercise, but it
Sorry?
works.
It does.
works.
It absolutely does.
And as we age,
I've seen it work on her.
yes.
as we age as women, exercise and working with weights in
Yes.
particular, it helps us to balance our hormones. So when we're getting into perimenopause and menopause, we're talking about building muscle helps to equalize and balance a whole lot of things. So the
Yes.
symptoms of menopause are actually nullified by building weight, by building muscle. So it doesn't mean that you have to bulk up, but it does mean that you have to go for a walk, do some weights in the gym, or find a friend and be accountable to that friend that you're
Yes.
spending that time on your body. And then what goes in your mouth?
Yeah.
There has to be that, I know you know this rule, that 18-20 rules, that 18 out of 20 meals are balanced. They are healthy.
Okay.
And then you got 2 more meals there that you can just stuff around and have your treats. So that means that you can create balance in your life.
And then you're happy, because if you're depriving yourself constantly, you're not happy.
Nobody wants to be
You can be
deprived.
hangry, woo.
So ladies, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. I think what stands out for me is when life throws you a curveball, just grab it first, validate it, acknowledge it, look at it, and then throw it off when you're ready.
Yes.
Don't just duck and dive and think it,
Definitely.
because the way we, the saying I've got here is, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change.
Definitely.
And you've given us some beautiful perspectives, some insights into things about raising women, about getting a sense of accomplishment. And I see we've got a comment here that says, "Thank you, beautiful butterflies, for highlighting the concepts of seeking validation through the doingness, whereas our worth is the consciousness and awakening of just being,
Yes.
because we are his masterpieces."
Definitely.
Thank you for the reminders, beautiful butterflies.
Pleasure.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. I think this other comment is maybe see all 3 butterflies on the screen, please. Okay. Okay, beautiful. Thank you. And I want to thank also our technical team. They've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes way before we got onto screen. So Fahad and Mahir of our technical team, thank you so much. Hina, who was on just after the first video, and then Dr. Ilyas Parker as well, who's been doing a lot of groundwork that way. Umar Suleiman from our academia library, and then really just for the 2 of you for enlightening us, for equipping us with some information, for redefining and reframing some of the terms that we use. I think that was really valuable and important. And then for our viewers out there, I'd just like to mention a few things. I pray for your calmness in every confusion that you have, relief from every stress. I pray for for comfort, for strength, and for hope in your every waking moment, because it really is about listening to yourself and making a difference. Thank you very much for joining us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
In pursuit of empowerment through knowledge for all, Academia Library Multimedia Studio.